in Caucasian and Slavic Studies from Tbilisi State University in Georgia, and received a PhD in Historical Comparative Linguistics from the German University of Friedrich Schiller. He also has a Master of Arts in Iranian and Semitic Philology from Iran, and a second Master in German as a foreign and second language acquisition, with a minor in Indo-European linguistics. Farshid has been teaching languages and cultures of the Middle East since 1994 in Iran, Georgia, Russia, Germany, France, and Switzerland. His focus includes contrastive and historical linguistics and minority research in Islamic countries. He is currently working in Germany and in the United States as an associate scholar for languages and cultures of the Muslim world. Farshid is the author of several published chrestomathies and readers in Persian as a foreign language. The topic of Dr. Delshad's speech is Cyrus the Great, the worshipper of Marduk. Please join me to welcome Dr. Delshad.
به نام خداوند جان و خرد که از این برتر اندیشه بر نگذرد. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like to thank the organizers of this beautiful event and also thank you all for attending this gathering. My focus is merely on the Cyrus cylinder with two different aspects. It's a little bit unusual. My aspect is a comparative linguistic aspect within the historicity of this cylinder, and there are much talks about this topic, but this approach might give you an incentive to work and study on this relict a little bit further. So I give first some leading information about this cylinder, and then I go to the different aspects of this object. The Cyrus cylinder, as you know, it is a barrel-shaped baked clay, which is about 10 inch and has been inscribed in Babylonia in 539 and in the ruins of Babylonia, which is now in northern Iraq. So the cylinder itself is written in Akkadian, which is a Semitic language, which I'm going to talk about that in the second chapter. So, and this is in cuneiform, about 539 BC. What is important about this barrel is actually that this this cylinder-shaped inscription, it was not an object for exhibition. This is actually a foundation building that one put in the wall of Babylonia. So it means it was not a, let's say, a looker or eye catcher for the people to look at that. So, but it's definitely is a document of statecraft. But I'm going to talk about that in more details. So this is actually an evidence of a very clear Mesopotamian culture where goes back as far as 3 millennia, where the monarchs, when they invaded the country or governed the country, new country, they inscribed, and in this inscription they talked about the reforms that they want to do. So it means, in fact, as far as the tradition goes, actually this this cylinder goes on the same path of the cultural heritage of Mesopotamia. But what makes this cylinder particularly special for as a cultural heritage is something that I'm going to talk about in the second chapter. So in this Cyrus cylinder, Cyrus claims that I'm king of Persia, but at the same time king of Babylonia. And he worships Marduk, who is a deity and the king and the god of Babylonia. So So the inscription by itself has been written in Akkadian, which is a prevalent Semitic language in Babylonia, which is today's Iraq. So it means the inscription is in a Semitic language, so it is not a comprehensive language for the Iranians or for their vassals or for the companions of Cyrus the Great. So it means it brings us to the idea if Cyrus would wanted to eternalize his name merely within the Persians, at least he would have ordered to write the inscription at least in one of the three prevalent languages in those times, Persia. So it would be maybe Elamite, or it would be maybe Aramaic, which was the lingua franca, or maybe Persian cuneiform. But this inscription has been written particularly in a language which is not comprehensible for the Iranians. And that is interesting. It brings us to the third part of what I want to talk about. Cyrus says that by the creation of writing in a language of the local, he talks, I'm one of you. And that is interesting. I appreciate your culture, I appreciate your language, I appreciate your deities, and appreciate all the specificities that you have. Putting that in a more modern aspect, for example, in 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Egypt, and which actually led to the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, and later on, without bloodshedding, a new era in Egypt started, and that was the flourishing of economy and industry. And when he did that, he told that I did it in the name of Allah, and that is interesting. He talked in the language of the people to say that I'm one of you, putting that even more, let's say, more protagonistic in another idea when J.F. Kennedy in 1963, on June 1963, went to Berlin. He standing in front of the people from Berlin and he told, Ich bin ein Berliner, which means I'm a citizen of Berlin, I'm part of you, and made a sign to make a homogeneity between the people whose language he did not understand. So what is particular about this cylinder from this historical comparative point of view is that a king comes to another country, and even though he believes he has another thought, another belief, and maybe another language and another ethnicity, he claims to be the king of the newly conquered country without any hostility and animosity towards the languages and cultures of the country. And so maybe the idea that Cyrus had is kind of different from our modern perception of democracy, but this homogeneity that he created and lasted for 200 years of stability and reshaped the history of the Middle East for the next 200 years till Alexander shattered this dynasty, shows a huge balance of tolerance, multi-religiosity, multi-ethnicity, and multilinguality in the society. And may this idea of aspiration would be a pioneer for us and for the tumultuous situation now in the Middle East to sustain stability, peace, and freedom for all people. Thank you.